It was noontime today in the center of Beijing when a man walked to the middle of the Avenue of Eternal Peace.
All right, welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass Podcast, Kevin and Chuck. Well, today we're going to talk about drones, drones over New Jersey, and government incompetence because I feel like they go hand in hand. Um, so the thing is, it's drones over New Jersey, but it's really drones over the entire East Coast.
Right.
I'm down in North Carolina, and I've seen video of like 5 different drone sightings within 30, 40 miles of where I'm at. So to be like, oh, it's just New Jersey. No, this is a big goings on.
Yeah.
Whether, you know, I don't know. I hear all kinds of different reports, and I feel like our government might be lying to us, Kevin. First,
Yeah,
yeah, go
I
ahead.
think that's true. I'm in New York and we haven't had any specifically over this area.
Okay.
South of us quite a bit. I do go out every night and shoot my shotgun into the air just in case.
Maybe that's why you're not seeing the
Hmm.
drones.
Keeping them
Maybe,
away.
hey, you're keeping them away. They're afraid.
Hmm.
Let's focus on the drones first. What are you hearing about these sightings? Like, can you describe them? What are you seeing in the news stories?
I've seen a lot of weird stuff. A lot of the sightings look like they're helicopters and airplanes, like
Uh-huh.
regular air traffic. A lot of the video I've seen is not suspicious in any way.
Uh-huh.
Got the flashing, lights and the standard stuff. But I've seen a lot of videos that are like really weird,
Yeah.
not just look like a drone, but like something that's weird, something that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
Um, I saw one that was a weird kind of an orb shape, and then it changed shape, which
What?
is not something a regular drone does. Um, but I don't know. There's so many videos out there right now of these
And
things
who
that
even
it's
knows
crazy.
what is really tied to now? I mean, that's one of the things about the internet is people throw up a video. Hey, I have this drone video that I had that was weird that didn't get any play. And
Hmm.
now I can be like, yeah, look, I just tag it New Jersey drone, and all of a
Right.
sudden it's
Hmm.
um yeah, I have this one that's kind of weird. Checks out. That one. Have you seen that video? It's kind of a it's like stacked, kind of like something from Star Wars, right?
Right.
All those I don't know, different things. I saw that one going around for a while, and that was kind of weird. Um and it's weird that the news doesn't seem to know what to make of it. The government doesn't know what to make of it. Nobody knows who's responsible and whatever, and the government just seems to be denying everything. Now people are saying it's the size of a car, or I've even heard, or the size of a bus.
Hmm.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Now, I don't even know that they're unmanned when they're that big. I don't know if you're hiding somebody in there. It could be a bunch of Chinese people in there. I don't
Hmm.
know. I don't know what's happening. Could be like a Trojan horse, right?
I think that there's probably Haitians in there eating
Asian
cats and dogs.
cats and dogs.
I mean, who
You
knows
know,
what's in these things?
they pack up a snack and they come on in. So yeah, now we're going to dig into some of these news stories. Now, a lot of the news stories, it's weird. It depends on the place. Like, one, I hear that news stories are being cut back and people are told not to talk about it. Um, that seems to be our norm, right? Would probably
Mhm.
be labeled as fake news with this kind of stuff. Um, Another thing is I hear, oh, they're following all the guidelines, so we have no business or even looking or asking what they are.
Right.
Um, Technically, the law is you can fly a drone over private property or private property that you have permission to fly over, right?
Mhm.
So your own property or someone else's. Otherwise, it's kind of a no go.
Right.
So
Especially over military bases, which apparently this is doing. Even though they've said that it's not
they
flying
do.
over, there are also reports from military bases saying that there's stuff flying over their bases. So, you know.
Now, another news report I saw said when their helicopters approach the drones, the lights go out and they have a hard time tracking it with a regular, helicopter. I
Mhm.
also saw a news story that these drones don't show up on radar, but that was the news, and these people are idiots. So I don't know that
Yeah,
that has to be
I've
true. But you
actually
seen
heard
that?
both of those. Yeah, that
Yeah,
they do show up and they don't show up on radar. So, I mean, obviously nobody knows what the truth is, and they just report it anyway. So, I mean,
yeah.
it's
It's
just like
just
our podcast where we can just say whatever we want.
you say whatever you want. It's one of those things. The media is your own. It's your oyster, right? You can
Right.
just jump in and do whatever you want. But that's the whole thing is why why is it that our government feels the need to just lie to us? It's ridiculous. So let's start out here. I have some of the news stories. You can kind of check it out, get a feel for what we're dealing with. Why don't you guys take a listen to this?
People in the Philadelphia area are now spotting large drones as authorities in New Jersey push for answers on their own mystery drone spottings over the past few weeks.
There it is again. It's so close and it's going so. Look at it.
We were swarmed ourselves last night by Action News viewers sending videos of drone sightings. Numerous reports were sent into Action News about flying objects in media and Broomall in Delaware County, Philadelphia's Mayfair section, and in Cherry Hill, Camden County. New Jersey State Police were surveying the drones in Lebanon, Hunterdon County on Saturday night. No one seems to be able to figure out if the drone incidents are connected, who is flying them, or why. The FBI is involved.
So I feel like if the FBI is involved in the investigation, they must feel like there's something going on because
Mhm.
you keep hearing the White House and everybody dismiss it as, well, we know what this is. This is just regular planes and the rest of it is made up.
Mhm.
And if it's regular planes and the rest of it's made up, why would the FBI investigate it?
Mhm. Right.
Right? Does that not sound logical? Like I don't even understand. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, let me read a quote here. This is from November 18th, and this is some of the earliest sightings over New
Okay.
Jersey. Um, we received reports of what were believed to be drones flying over Picatinny Arsenal, in addition to other locations in Morris County on the evening of November 18th. Picatinny Arsenal organizations um, were not involved in UAV flight operations on that date. We are working with several of our local, state, and federal partner organizations to obtain more information on the reported activity. So there it is. They are flying these drones over sensitive sites,
All right. But
including
then
reservoirs and other stuff too, you
right.
know?
They are and they're not. That's the whole thing. So, all right, bottom line, I agree. Honestly, if it's nighttime and I'm looking up, I feel like I would have a hard time distinguishing a helicopter or these as they're further away.
Mhm,
Now, I agree when they get up close, people are seeing things that appear to be almost kind of like a car kind of shape, and I mean not like a car or whatever, but more the kind of flat and long rather than
mhm,
a specific, and they seem to be square, right? Or rectangle, right? And that to me is more, not like a helicopter. So I find that odd. Now, it's weird that the White House and everybody just denies it, but it kind of reminds me back to the Aurora apartment complex thing where you had the local government, the mayor was like, "Oh yeah, this is happening. This is real. We're asking for help." And then the governor was like, "No, this is all fake news and it's made up." And it really just creates such a distrust for your government, you know?
mhm.
You don't How do you trust anybody when they're just constantly lying to you?
Right.
Um, it, to me, these are very relevant, and we're going to dig into some stories about the Coast Guard seeing them and the 50 coming over in from the ocean. That's kind
Mhm,
of a big deal. There was a congressman, Jeff Van Drew. He posited or he suggested that maybe there's like he said Iranian mothership.
well, I've
Uh,
got his exact quote here. I'll read
okay,
it
let
for
me
you
hear
right
it.
now. "I'm going to tell you the real deal. Iran launched a mothership that contains these drones. It's off the east coast of the United States of America. They've launched drones. So he's specifically saying there is an Iranian mothership. I don't know what that means. I'm
Yeah,
assuming that's
to
a
me,
ship in the
right,
ocean.
right. I believe that he means a boat, like a big ship in the ocean. However, the way that comes across in my mind, I'm thinking like some Star Trek thing coming down,
Right.
or the Death Star out there, kind of hovering, and things just flying out. Like it's the drone wars, right? I mean, is it not Star Wars here playing
Hmm.
out? Um, that should have been the title. Maybe I'll rework the cover photo for this as Drone Wars. Um, but that's the whole thing, right? There's so much going on. Now, he said that, and he said in one of the bit more expanded interviews I saw with him that he had sources inside the government that he didn't want to, divulge. They were from the Homeland Security and things like that, and he didn't want to give it out. The White House then later is going to dispute that in another interview, and they're going to say, "We looked, there's no Iranian ships in our coastal waters." Now, you and me both being military veterans here in the Navy, we know that our coastal waters is 25 miles out.
Right.
Um, could there be a ship out 100 miles and the government is just, well, that doesn't count, so we're ignoring that and
Right.
painting a different story? To me, kind of yes, because the government lies to us all the time. Now, my gut says I don't need to like panic and urgent about this, but I think we should be very aware and on guard about it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I feel like it's going to play out like the Chinese balloon. You remember when we let that ridiculous balloon fly over our country and we did nothing? I feel like it's somebody. I don't know that it's China. I feel like it's somebody testing us and seeing, what we're about, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
seeing what we're gonna do to respond. Go ahead.
I'm gonna slightly disagree with you. I
Okay.
agree with all that, except I think that we should be panicking. I think that we
Okay.
should
That's
we're at agreement. That's just my personal opinion.
To me, it's kind of a big deal if you let that kind of shit go on. I
Mhm.
mean, if there is any possibility that this is a foreign power doing this, I feel like that's a very serious thing. But I just I can't wrap my head around the government's inept response.
Yeah, so I've got a good one here, another quote.
Okay.
Um, well, it's not a quote. I wasn't able to. It didn't really make any sense. I just heard him talking about it. So Ryan Zinke, he's a Republican from Montana, congressman. He said that somehow it's related to Hunter's backpack, which
Oh,
I didn't know there was a backpack thing, but also the laptop.
oh,
So we obviously have a crack team of morons on this, and we
that
shouldn't have to
sounds
worry about it
accurate.
at all.
All right. Well, so here's the thing. So I keep saying, and I hate to play clips, especially when they're long, but this is John Kirby from the White House. And I want you guys to hear this because this is
No,
kind of crazy.
that's just before you play it. John Kirby is the White House National Security Communication Advisor. Also, he's a known liar. So go ahead with the clip.
Take those two things into account. And note that we're going to play some other videos that are going to completely make this jackass sound like a liar. And you're going to be like, well, wait, that doesn't add up. So the bottom line is, I don't know if he's lying or the other people are lying, but I feel like we're being lied to. Check it out.
Now, finally, I just want to add a few comments on the reports of drone activity here on the East Coast, particularly in and around New Jersey. We have no evidence at this time that the reported drone sightings pose a national security or a public safety threat or have a foreign nexus. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are investigating these sightings, and they're working closely with state and local law enforcement to provide resources using numerous detection methods to better understand their origin. Using very sophisticated electronic detection technologies provided by federal authorities, we have not been able to, and neither have state or local law enforcement authorities, corroborate any of the reported visual sightings. To the contrary, upon review of available imagery, it appears that many of the reported sightings are actually manned aircraft that are being operated lawfully. The United States Coast Guard is providing support to the state of New Jersey and has confirmed that there is no evidence of any foreign-based involvement from coastal vessels. And importantly, there are no reported or confirmed drone sightings in any restricted airspace. Now, that said, we certainly take seriously the threat that can be posed by unmanned aircraft systems, which is why law enforcement and other agencies continue to support New Jersey and investigate the reports, even though they have uncovered no malicious activity or intent at this particular stage. While there is no known malicious activity occurring, the reported sightings there do, however, highlight a gap in authorities. And so we urge Congress to pass important legislation that will extend and expand existing counter-drone authorities so that we are better prepared to identify and mitigate any potential threats to airports or other critical infrastructure, and so that state and local authorities are provided all the tools that they need to respond to such threats.
Now, that's the whole thing. He says there are big gaps in their authority. And of course, the government is always like, we need more authority. We need to
Right.
be able to do more things. But the FAA, I heard the head of the FAA come out and say, oh, well, we have the authority to shoot down things if we deem them unfit and whatever, in
Mhm.
our airspace and doing illegal activity. So is there not already authority?
Right.
Did they not think to call the FAA on this one?
Right. But they need more. They always need more. There's never enough, you know? They don't have enough power and enough control.
And
They should be able to just shoot anybody they want. They are the government, you know what I mean?
right.
They're working for our safety.
Right. You know that if like you were out there with a signal mirror and you were flashing it in
Mhm.
somebody's eyes in a plane, that somebody would come out like SWAT teams and be knocking on your door in like 5 minutes.
Right.
Right. I mean
Absolutely.
that's happening. Remember, people were flying drones in New York City and they were flying like around the planes or something near
Mhm.
JFK. I guess
Yeah, one of
LaGuardia
the
is the one
airports.
in the city, but
Yeah.
um uh I don't know. But anyway, he's like, "Oh, to the contrary, they're lawfully manned aircraft." And he's like, I just, what a jackass is all I can say. And I feel like I'm being lied to. It's funny because I'd mentioned that Aurora story. I went back to it, and if you look now, that place was so overrun that the state of Colorado declared it a criminal something zone, and they went in and shut the place down and made them evict everybody, and I'm like, wait a minute, how is this fake news? Is what they were telling us, and
Mhm.
then now, oh yeah, well that was true, but we were lying to you before. And
Right. Right. And,
that's one of
it's
those
weird that they
things.
never just come out and say, "We were lying." They just contradict themselves over and
Right,
over
right.
again, and then act like you're so stupid you won't know.
You're so dumb. You didn't know.
You don't know when somebody's lying to you.
So, I mean, all right, car-sized drones. I feel like there could be a payload there. That was kind of like that balloon, right? There could have been a payload there. It was very large.
Mhm.
Um, car-sized drones, that's kind of significant. And you're telling me, so Kevin, how would you imagine if China had a bunch of helicopters just show up that they didn't know anything about and just started flying all over their major cities? How would that go? Would that be
Well, first off, they
acceptable?
probably wouldn't report it, you know what I mean? We would never hear about it.
That's true.
People would see it, and then, there wouldn't be any news stories about it or anything. But
Right.
also, I mean, I don't think they would just let it slide, you know? I
They,
wouldn't think the United States would let it slide, but they are. So, you know, whatever.
it's
I guess you just do whatever the fuck you want, and everybody is so worried about getting reelected that they don't give a shit about, what's actually happening and actually doing the fucking job that they were hired to do.
right. Right. Well, that's it. I have another, again, I try not to play videos, but I feel like you guys don't just want my take on it. I mean, I don't want to be like, yeah, this guy said and that guy said. Like, it's ridiculous. When people are outright lying to you, I feel like you have no choice but to, refute it and be like, what the hell? It's very concerning. I feel it's very 1984 and we're just being kind of lied to.
Mhm.
So I do have another news story. And again, this is a congressman. He's going to identify himself. And hey, I talked to the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard sees him, but somehow the White House is like, no, we have no real sightings. But the Coast Guard is like, yeah, we saw 50 coming over the coast.
Right.
So let's see. Listen to this.
Republican Congressman Chris Smith, his constituents have been reporting drone activity over recent days. It's been happening over several weeks. Congressman, good to have you with us. The White House not ruling out anything, not giving us any answers. Neither did this hearing that we just heard some questions in. What is going on here, and when can people expect to get some answers from our leaders?
They should have had them immediately. Last night I was on the beach with Sheriff Mastronardi, and he's doing a magnificent job in trying to ascertain a threat for this. He's the Ocean County Sheriff. Sean Golden's doing the same thing in Monmouth County. So I was there on the beach, and I talked to several people, including a commander for the Coast Guard, who told me that the night before, I was there last night, so 2 nights ago, one of their 47-foot boats, was trailed very closely by more than a dozen of these drones. Now that, to me, is very, very not just suspicious, provocative, and this could be a foreign power, whether it be Putin or whether it be Xi Jinping in China or the Middle East. We can't rule any of that out.
Yeah, this is incredible. So
incredible.
A United States Coast Guard boat testified to you that 12 drones were following it in the water in the Atlantic Ocean. Did they tell you anything about the size, what they look like? Were they able to get images? How close were they?
They were pretty large, and they weren't far off the stern. So it's very, very troubling. I called the joint base and talked to the commanding officer there and asked, we know we have the capability within DOD to ascertain where it's coming from, even bring it down, and they have it, but they don't have the, quote, authority to do it.
What, from
so
who? See, this is the question, Congressman. So when you're out over the ocean and you have 12 of them out there, I think, it's a very reasonable question. Why weren't one of those drones trailing the Coast Guard ship shot down over the ocean and grabbed and checked out?
Well, again, the capability to do that in a way that could retrieve what it is and who's doing it, it resides within the DOD. They have it. I've asked the commanding officer to get that authority. I've written Lloyd Austin to ask him to give that authority. I mean, this could be the beginning of something, or it could be nothing. Who knows? But how dare they allow us to live? I just listened to the White House spokeswoman.
Say nothing.
They got nothing to tell us.
Unbelievable.
And we have the capability. And the night before, I was there last night till late. The night before, one of our police officers, again working for Sheriff Mastronardi, chronicled 50 coming from the ocean onto land. 50.
This is
this is really serious
stuff. It's insane. It's like a sci-fi movie, and it could be a hoax, but it's so large, the number of them.
There's probably a ship that
it's a foreign entity. It's something that the U.S. knows and understands, or it's some kind of massive hoax with lots of people involved. But whatever it is, we absolutely have to know. So, this lack of answers is absolutely
Martha,
really
there's no
upsetting.
way it's a hoax. We have foreign powers, especially China, Putin, Russia. And
we already, we watched the balloon go across and shoot it down until it was well out over the ocean. So let's hope we can get it right this time. It's already very late in that process. Unbelievable. I had one, go over my house, and it's a strange feeling. So
we'll let you know what we hear from DOD, because they should give that authority today.
I like what they said it's very late in the process to do the right thing. It's like, I hope we could be competent. Now, he sounded reasonable, right? I didn't get the feeling that he was some whack job that, whatever. I got the impression, hey, this guy's like, hey, we're talking to the Coast Guard. Now, they said a 47-foot boat. So that's not exactly, you're probably not like a cutter or something, right? You're just a little, I don't even know.
I don't know how many car-sized drones you could have on a 47-foot boat, but it wouldn't seem to me.
The Coast Guard were in a 47.
Oh, the court. All right.
And they were being followed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it just, so people are like, well, why didn't you shoot them down? Well, if I'm in a 47-foot boat,
you're not that heavily armed,
right? You might you would probably have a 50 cal on there, and you could, I'm sure, shoot one down. But then, are you retrieving it? Whatever, you sink it in the ocean,
going to sink, and
really
that's
gain anything. But I am sure, so you and I both been in the military. Both in the Navy, and that we're probably, you're not going to have the authority to do jack without the government say so.
Right. Right.
And you have all these scared people all the way up. We can't take action, but when do you act? I
Right.
mean, that's the whole thing. When do you say, hey, this is really a threat? Like I pointed out, China wouldn't go for that. Putin wouldn't go for that. You're telling me we have a bunch of car-sized drones flying around Russia and Russia's not taking action? I understand they're being invaded right now, and that's a different game. They're
Right.
in a war. I get that. I mean, that's fair, right? But you know damn well in peacetime, if Putin had something fly over freaking Moscow or whatever, right? St. Petersburg or wherever, right? Right.
Mhm.
Because I wanted to get away from the capital because they're
Right.
not flying over DC that we know of. So, although maybe they are, right? The government lies so much. I don't know. I don't know
I
what
mean,
the truth is.
like the last 20 minutes of this podcast, we've just been playing contradictory statements from the government.
Right.
Everybody
Right.
saying completely opposite things.
And how do you know what's right? And that's what's concerning. And I gotta say, I mean, to me, I don't want to overreact. I don't want to be like, oh my God, the sky is falling. We need to panic. Right. And nothing bad has happened. But it's always one of those things that nothing bad happens until it does.
Right.
And
Right. Exactly. And they keep saying that they know that these aren't a threat,
right,
but also we don't know what they are.
right.
So
How do
how do
you
you know?
know, right, that there's no danger when you don't know anything?
Hmm.
I mean, apparently they haven't even seen one, according to the White House.
Right.
So well, of course it's no threat. Like, yeah, I don't know. I heard somebody give the analogy. It was one of the news talk shows, and they were like, "Oh, well, that's like saying, oh, you're having severe chest pains. Well, I look at you and everything looks pretty good. I wouldn't worry about it."
Right.
Well,
Right.
it's like, yes, yeah, well, yeah, but without doing real tests and digging into it, yeah, kind of, I need to worry about it. And that's how it is. And I find it very concerning. And I feel like we're really being probed. And I gotta say, Kevin, I'm a little worried that I feel like if I'm a aggressive nation against the United States, and I was thinking about taking action to the United against the United States, I would want to do it while Biden was president over when Trump was president. I mean,
Hmm.
what's your take on that? I'm
Yeah.
not
Well,
saying Trump is the most competent, handle everything, go to guy,
no,
but
but
I'm
I think
also
crazy enough to do something foolish, and that would be, wild stuff. Unfortunately, it's getting a little late for that. You know what I mean? They got like 3 or 4 weeks left, and
yeah,
then and Biden's going to be out. But
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I remember a movie.
War
I
of the
can't
Worlds.
remember the name of the movie, but it's you know, the island that they're on is sinking and
Okay.
slowly going under the water, and the king of the island just keeps saying, "This isn't happening. This isn't happening. This isn't happening." Like that's what how our government's behaving right now. Like pretending. If you just pretend it's not real, then it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so often the case, right? I find it like, what the hell? Like, how can we just ignore this stuff and let it build and build? It's like our debt problems, we let it just go and go and go. And then it's like, well, I don't think it's a problem. The world hasn't ended. Kevin, has the world ended? I mean, there's food in the grocery store and you do get a paycheck. It may not be enough to buy all the food you want, but you're not starving in the street.
Yeah, most people aren't starving. There are definitely people starving in the street right now, but I mean,
I mean,
most people aren't.
there's still beer in my fridge. So I
Mhm.
mean, it's
I'm on
kind of
my last
okay.
one. I gotta make a run.
So you're
Getting
saying that
low.
things are right on the edge
Yeah,
right
things
now.
things
We
are
should be a
good.
little worried. All right. Well, I would say stock up on the liquor and, maybe enjoy as the world ends. We could all watch.
Mhm.
Have you seen these Skynet shotgun rounds? The
Yeah.
anti-drone rounds.
Yes,
They're
I have,
available.
but it like the range isn't great,
No.
and It's
You're
got to
not
be a
taking down a
small
car.
drone. It's
Yeah,
got to
you're
be
not
like
taking
a
down a
drone your
car drone.
neighbor has, not like a you know.
Well, this is where maybe Kevin, a Barrett 50 cal rifle might be the answer for you.
That's true.
You might be able to take down a car-sized drone with a Barrett 50.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying.
Um.
No one should be shooting at anything because God knows there's going to be a helicopter out there over somebody's house, and some jackass is going to be out there
Yeah.
going,
Kevin told me to do it. It's fine.
Kevin told me to do it.
Yeah.
Kevin is completely wrong.
This is
And
American. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Apparently, nobody told the government that, but I mean, that's my view of this country, and that's how we act. Now, what we haven't talked about at all is that these could potentially be UAPs, right?
ooh,
So, we keep saying drones, and that's probably accurate,
yes,
but we don't know what it is.
and that's it.
We don't know what it is. So, obviously there have been multiple sightings of UAPs, and the government keeps having these hearings where people are like, yeah, 100%. There's definitely, aliens, and they're showing up, they're coming out of the ocean, and everyone's like, yeah, well, I still got to go to work. So none of this stuff matters.
Right, right.
Yeah. They have crashed UAPs, and everyone's like, yeah, whatever. And they have bodies of extraterrestrials. Everyone's like, yeah, whatever. It's no big deal. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
But
But
Kevin,
like,
yeah,
what the
go
fuck,
ahead.
dude? I mean,
Yep.
that's all I'm saying is what the fuck.
And that's really what it comes down to is what the fuck. But that's the thing. I mean, these are real, right? This is happening aside of the White House. Nobody's denying that there's these giant car-sized drones all over the place. Like I said, I know people who've seen them, and I've seen tons of video, and I understand it's hard to discern, like I said, if there's a helicopter off in the distance and it has proper lighting and stuff, can I decide, that's good or bad? But I mean, that's what the hell? Like, how do we just ignore this and not, think it's something worth our attention? Now, I was wondering about Trump and why he hasn't weighed in on this. Usually he likes to interject his opinion on
Yeah. Oh, he
everything.
loves talking, right?
He does love talking. Now, I did search it last night. I was like all over the internet looking for a Trump quote, for the whole drone situation, and maybe it doesn't warrant his attention. I would feel like it should, but that's all it is. It's just there's so much going on. The government just keeps proving that they're inept, and I honestly, unless there's some huge behind the scenes going on, we just come across as weak and pathetic. And anybody watching this, as far as foreign nations and stuff, is going to see that America is coming out soft on this one.
Hmm.
Now, all I can say is I hope for better things with the next administration, that we don't portray such weakness. And I understand you can't go jumping into any war or shenanigans anytime. You don't want to start shit, right? But you can't be a pushover either. I think
Hmm.
Reagan kind of set the standard for us and kind of showed that when you show strength, you don't always have to fight a war.
Right.
You really can, by showing strength, end up with a better outcome. So that's what I
I've
got on that. Yeah, go ahead.
I've got one little story here that's somewhat related. This is about a Ukraine situation, though. Um,
Okay.
it seems that the Iranian-made kamikaze drones that have been flying into and bombing Ukraine,
Yeah.
um, Ukraine somehow is redirecting them, and they're just turning around and flying back and blowing up in Belarus and Russia, which I don't know. I guess France or the UK sent them, reverse Uno cards. So I don't really know what that's about, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. A lot of this stuff is awfully suspicious.
So you guys have show ideas, questions, concerns, drone sightings, any of the drone stuff, just put it in the comments. we'd love to see it and hear what you guys got going on. Listening to the podcast, we'd love a review, whatever, like, subscribe. You guys would be awesome. We'd really appreciate it.
Right. And
But
join our Facebook group, especially if you have any footage of drones. Join our Facebook
yeah,
group.
love to see
Dump
it
them on there.
in the Prepping Badass group. So yeah, search, Prepping Badass on Facebook, and you'll find us. Survival and Basic Badass podcast on TikTok and Instagram. I think that we have like 0 followers on Instagram because I keep violating all their rules and they boot everybody off. But you know how it is. It's weird. Somehow Facebook's like, oh, you're good. We actually want to pay you to create content. And then Instagram, owned by Facebook or both by Meta, whatever, are like, oh, this is crap you're putting out. And I'm like, I do what I can do, right? Because how do you be true to you and not, and not violate the rules? That's what I got. But anyway, emails, questions, concerns, show ideas, email us at preppingbadass@gmail.com. So with that, stay safe, and we will talk to you guys next week.